would you not agree that Bitcoin intrinsically is something so different than every other Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency that's out there?
What I like about Bitcoin, okay, is it's the mommy. You know what I mean? It's the one that kind of started this whole thing. And I think that's probably why most people are more familiar with it. And they hear about all these other, offshoots that came later on here. Like I said, I always tell people, okay, if you don't understand the crypto space, but you're looking for one coin or one of these to get one of these cryptos to get into, Bitcoin would probably be your best bet. And I you see, when I outline things for people, especially in my blog or even stuff I write, I try to break it down to its most simple elements, just so people can, again, get the concept of it and then take it from there.
Hey everyone, welcome back to SatPulse. Today, inside the markets, I've got the Greg Mannarino. Thanks for coming on with us, Greg.
I really appreciate you having me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So as we're leading up to the Stock Pulse Silver Symposium, it's been a lot of questions coming along here. And unfortunately, I get you're not going to be able to be at the symposium this year, and we're going to miss you. But what I do want to talk about still pertains to everything we're going to be talking about there, including precious metals, the cycles we're in with precious metals, politically, what's going on that's impacting these markets and what we should be watching, especially as we look at CBDCs. And then finally, Bitcoin and what's the difference between Bitcoin and gold and silver and what we're talking about here. So welcome to the show and thanks for coming on. And I guess the first question is straight up to you is, right now, this is the first time, people talk about Bitcoin all the time and we hear about it in my world. And I've been hearing the precious metals argument, but this is really the first time that Bitcoin has had a foothold in industries, in banking institutions, in hedge funds, as we've gone through one of these bull market cycles for silver. How do you see that playing here?
I think my take is pretty straightforward on this. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I really do. When Bitcoin hit 17,000, 17,500, I almost, I told everyone on my channel, I said, this is a great opportunity to buy more of this stuff. And I think the upside here is absolutely tremendous. Honestly, I just look at when I think about the markets, I always kind of say, okay, where's the most likely place cash is going to move in the future? And I sincerely believe this. Again, the environment we are in is out of control with global debt where it is, and it's going much, much higher here. Central banks are going to continue to inflate. This debt bubble is going to burst. And then once it eventually does, how does that affect the flow of cash through the markets? Where is it most likely to go? We know it's going to bleed out of the debt market like a tsunami. We know it's going to put a lot of pressure on global equity markets, and then this cash is just going to look for places to go. In my opinion, I've been telling people this for over a decade. I think it's going to go into precious metals and cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, obviously. So, that's the place. And I tell you something else why I think it's an even better opportunity right now than I think most people realize. We've seen the market cap of cryptocurrencies like really take a hit. So with that, seeing the entire space kind of shrink down, look, I'm always a guy who says, okay, when people are on one side of the trade, I want to be on the opposite. I've always been like this. So when you see an opportunity like that, where the whole market cap has really, compacted, I mean, look, it's got nowhere to go but bigger in my view. But again, look, I don't want to push people into anything that they don't understand. That's the truth. I always tell everybody on my channel, never put a single dime to work in anything unless you fully understand it. I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't understand the crypto space at all, or Bitcoin or whatever. And I get it. If you look at, let's say, Bitcoin, we were talking about it just pre-interview here, it hasn't been around that long, or the crypto space. It's a newer asset class. It takes a while. It even took me a long time to turn around and try to get my head around it as well. Some people operate a little faster than others. I'm kind of really old school. So it took me a while to get my head around it and try to understand what's going on here. And I just said, this seems like opportunity. And people get upset, and I don't understand this. Really, I don't. About the name, about what something is actually called. I don't understand that. Personally, I think we can both agree that looking at the crypto space, or Bitcoin in particular, as we're talking about it, people don't use it as a currency. They use it almost like gold or silver. They're holding it. They're buying and holding. They're buying and holding. So, the name to me is irrelevant. Whatever you want to, or the class is irrelevant. Just think of it as an asset class. Again, that I think that people want to hold, at least because they understand why they're holding it. Again, debt market meltdown. For me, pressure on the stock market, cash just moving into other. Cash doesn't fly away to money heaven. Most people think it does. It doesn't. It just moves around the markets. So that's important to understand. And it's true. No little money wings and fly away.
No, it's true. We talk about it all the time when we hear about the Bitcoin market cap, and they say, oh, well, Bitcoin could go past gold. Well, okay, let's step back and understand. For that to happen, the money has to flow into Bitcoin from something else. And that concept is, it's not just money that's created out of thin air, unless you're taking US dollars that are just printed for stimulus, right, and using it, which is a whole different story. But the reality is, for Bitcoin to equal the market cap of gold, you're going to be looking at $600,000 to $700,000 Bitcoin alone. So, we got to be thinking here like in real numbers, but sure, with institutional adoption, could we see money flying into Bitcoin like never before? Could we see $1 million Bitcoin by the end of this next cycle?
Where's the top? I hate trying to say that. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. But all I can say is I think, look, what people need to understand, especially if they're new to the crypto space, and I know that's not you, is extreme volatility here. Okay. And that's why it's not for everyone. You got to be willing to sit back and say this thing could swing by 50% in either direction in a very short period of time. A lot of people can't handle that. They expect to buy asset XYZ. It's going to float around in a relatively tight range. But that's not the deal with the crypto space. And I really believe that the reason for that is, again, it's a newer asset class. It's going to take another decade or two or longer for it to really establish itself. So with that said, where is the top? Who freaking knows? Because again, I think, and for me, again, I'm a simple guy, just understanding where cash is likely to move, being that the debt market is the hyper bubble of all time. And that hyper bubble in the debt market, which is going to get substantially worse moving forward, is going to burst. And that's just going to melt down global stock markets. Cash is going to move. Cash is going to move. It's a simple concept. I mean, people watch the stock market today with an economy on a global level, which is cratering. Meanwhile, it keeps going up and up and up and up and up. You got central banks buying it all. Period. The end. That's what's going on. So that's what people expect. They look at the stock market. It's going up, and I don't understand cryptocurrency, so I'm gonna avoid it altogether. And that's okay. That's okay too. It's not for everyone, like we're speaking about here. It's a very volatile space. It's hard to get your head around for a lot of people. They don't understand it, and that makes people fearful. And when people are fearful, they lash out. I mean, for example, you're going to see comments on this video that are going to sound very far out there for you and I. It's the people that don't understand it. So they hate it. When they can't get their head around it, they hate it. So they write all these, contrary to what you and I believe, comments. And that's okay too. Maybe one day they'll turn around if they'll understand it, but they don't need to. Again, there's so many opportunities, in my view, moving forward, understanding the distortions that exist in the market today because of the rigging in the debt market. I think that's the biggest thing that we all need to understand is this is just la-la land beyond anything I think anyone's can get their head around. And with that said, even me, I study the markets around the clock. That's all I think about pretty much.
But they might print $1 trillion coin. That sounds pretty likely. Wait, or are we still in la-la land here?
That would be the ultimate la-la land. That would have surprised me. Nothing would surprise me in this kind of an environment. If you follow my work at all, you probably know that. It's so I start off half of my videos laughing. I just start laughing. I think about it and I start going, and I'm like, I'm laughing. I shouldn't be laughing about this, but I am, because it's too much. It's the whole thing is so convoluted, so twisted. There's no bearing on reality at all. In the market today.
I can understand that too. You actually bring up a really good point, and I maybe have a different perspective. You say it doesn't really matter what you call it. say a little differently, because I think that it does matter. Bitcoin is so different than every other type of cryptocurrency that is out there. It is the first and only killer app on the blockchain that is used as a store of value. It is one of the things that is rivaling gold as a store of value. Yeah. People are now valuing silver in Satoshic value. That's our goal at SatPulse, is to show Satoshic value of everything from gold to silver to wheat to land to whatever you're talking about, U.S. wages. How many sats does it take you to buy that? And as we consider that, my question is, would you not agree that Bitcoin intrinsically is something so different than every other Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency that's out there?
What I like about Bitcoin, okay, is it's the mommy. You know what I mean? It's the one that kind of started this whole thing. And I think that's probably why most people are more familiar with it. And they hear about all these other, offshoots that came later on here. Like I said, I always tell people, okay, if you don't understand the crypto space, but you're looking for one coin or one of these to get one of these cryptos to get into, Bitcoin would probably be your best bet. And I you see, when I outline things for people, especially in my blog or even stuff I write, I try to break it down to its most simple elements, just so people can, again, get the concept of it and then take it from there. All right. I don't feel like it's my job to break things down to their, elements. Do the broad sketches, see if it catches people's attention, and then let them do their own research. Again, I don't want to force anyone into anything. I don't want to tell people they should be doing. I tell people what I'm doing all the time. Okay, this is what I do. And then if it makes sense to that person, then they should look into, hey, you know what? Greg was talking about this. Maybe, it sounds interesting. Maybe I'll do my own research. And that's what I'm hoping for. Even here with this particular interview that we're doing here, I want people to see, you and I, we're here, we're sketching this stuff out. And I believe that it's going to catch the attention of maybe some new people. And that's what I want to do. I just want to be able to do that and have these people, again, look into it, say, is this right for me? Or it's wrong for me for whatever reason, and then take it from there. But absolutely, look, with Bitcoin, how do I say this a way that's not going to, I don't think people can go wrong with it. Okay. How can I say? I really don't believe that. I mean, I could in the abstract be completely wrong, but I don't feel in my gut from what I know, from what I study, that that for the longer run, understanding how cash moves through this freak show that we're in, that Bitcoin isn't going to be a big beneficiary moving down the line.
Yeah, I agree with you, because you see even banks are running to it. You see hedge funds are running to it. People are running to MicroStrategies just because it's one way they can expose themselves in the market with Bitcoin. You see a speculative Bitcoin everywhere. I guess I wouldn't want to ever take advantage of this opportunity by saying anything, but the reality is if you're holding your keys, it's much safer. This is an opportunity to say that. Make sure that you understand that exchanges and how those interact with you, what the difference between a hot and cold wallet is, and why we as Bitcoin maximalists love Bitcoin is because we have sovereignty of our keys. If you don't have it in your own possession, someone else has possession over it for you. And that's why we always have our crypto commandment number 10, which is do your own research. Don't invest in something you don't understand. Don't get into Bitcoin just because you hear us talking about it here, because what may happen is you'll get it, you'll buy it, and it will be a scam, and you won't actually have the Bitcoin, and you won't get help, and whoever will try to help you will scam you. So it's definitely a risky place if you don't understand what you're doing, and be very cautious. But I agree with you with the volatility aspect of Bitcoin. Preeta Kraft said that last week as well when we were talking, that as a trader, I'm sure you have so much insight there. Cryptocurrency has so much room for volatility that for an experienced trader, you probably know what you're doing and can see some opportunity there.
It's the most volatile asset class that there is. I mean, honestly, but like I was saying earlier, because of that volatility, meaning crazy swings here, it scares a lot of people, and that's why it's not for someone to, in my view here. Okay, for the average guy or the average girl, it's a space that I can see that there's a lot of fear because they're not used to it. But some people that have, let's say, a very I have a risk tolerance that's probably off the Richter scale. So understand, I can deal with these crazy swings. I've done it for a really, really long time. And that's okay. And sometimes you get spooked and sometimes you got to get out. I mean, there have been times, and I've said this publicly, where I've gotten out of everything just because I became overwhelmed with it. Okay, look, I'm just going to erase the board and start from scratch. And, there's nothing wrong with doing that either, to getting yourself back on target, because sometimes this entire thing, it really does get to me from time to time. I mean, and I don't know if you've seen before, I have freaking meltdowns on my video blog. I literally lose it. I start sweating and it's getting crazy.
Yeah, you come up with the best nicknames too at those times.
Because you have to. That's how I stay sane, by trying to come up with these nicknames and stuff. But they all deserve it. Every nickname that I've called someone, they've earned. Let's be honest with each other. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's a freak show. But honestly, I think, look, like I said, there are people that are going to get it, and there are people that are not going to get it. And I think overall, most people today, because of the indoctrination by the freaking mainstream media, by the propaganda ministry, they're pushing this agenda on everybody. I say, people, turn off your freaking TVs, because whatever you're hearing coming out of that box over there is it's all wrong and it's not real. So pay attention to shows like this. See if we can capture your interest, and then take it from there. Start doing your own research and say, you know what, maybe this is something I want to look into, or maybe it's something I really don't want to. But anyway, I think this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, you brought up a really great point too. When you say the media, one of the things that we see happening right now is the media is taking something that we always love, and of course they keep your attention away from things that we believe are important. They're not telling you that the banks are buying up gold faster than ever before. They're not telling you how much gold China's buying. They're not telling you what's happening with the BRICS nations right now in Durban that's going to be happening in August. The question here is, as you see this, be careful, because you got to distinguish Bitcoin and real cryptocurrencies that have value because of their utility versus these CBDCs that they're going to be launching out here. They're going to be pretending like it's something amazing. But as Joe Brown says, these handouts lead to handcuffs. And I want to caution people, especially as you see things like, did you hear about Worldcoin and what they're doing with Worldcoin?
A little bit. I'm not overly familiar with it.
Your orb, like with an orb, to get your biometrics, and they'll give you Worldcoin. Hey, and if you get someone else to scan, they'll give them Worldcoin, and we'll all have Worldcoin, and everyone will love it because we'll all have it. And it's ridiculous, guys. Keep your eyes open.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been working towards some kind of a Worldcoin for a very, very long time. And I believe eventually, unfortunately, it's going to be something we're all going to have to be forced down to use, some kind of cross-border kind of whatever. And people are going to willingly give up anything to be taken care of, like you just said. There's no free handouts, there's no free lunches, but people, they still believe that there is, unfortunately. And so a cross-border kind of, universal thing is going to come up. You see, I'm glad you brought this up too. With the CBDCs, people say, okay, well, the central banks are never going to allow Bitcoin to survive or any other of these, similar offshoots to survive. And when they introduce their own central bank digital currency, and I say that's completely false. I don't even think they would be in the same class. I mean, like I was saying earlier, people, with Bitcoin and these offshoots here, they hold them, they buy them, they hold them. They don't really transact in them. Like, some people do look at Bitcoin and some of the offshoots as a digital gold. They really, really do.
Yeah, a lot of people now, they're using them like this. They're giving them away. They're storing Satoshis on wallets, and they're going to give them away to their family as value. It's like giving them a silver dollar. Better than giving them a silver eagle, give them a silver stack of sats. I mean, to them, it is the store of value.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, even though, like I said earlier, the market, as we both understand, the market cap has shrunk dramatically. I mean, that's just, look, as I said, as a guy that looks to be on the opposite side of the trade, I think that's an amazing opportunity. Okay. If it's shrinking, and maybe it will shrink more, who the freak knows? But again, look, we're not looking to hold this stuff for a week or two. People that are into this stuff realize it's, look, people always say to me, going back to precious metal. Okay, Greg, well, we're watching gold and we're watching silver. They really haven't moved too much. Or commodities. I've been, I don't know if you follow my work recently. I've been pushing. Yeah. That people need some exposure to commodities because these are real things as well. And I think that, I say people, well, you got to look at it in the context of debt bubble bursting, Stock market melting down, cash will move. So that's, you're looking down the line when you're holding Bitcoin or whatever it might be, or gold or silver or crude oil, because I think all this stuff in commodities across the board are going to skyrocket at one point, because again, it's cycles. Markets generally run in these kinds of cycles, although we don't have that anymore because it's just a freaking hyper bubble based on what the Fed and other central banks are doing with the global debt. But it's just so easy to understand that people need just to look, in my opinion, and I would imagine yours, for alternatives. What's wrong with looking for something else, another place to put cash to work? No one's saying, and I'm sure you're not saying this to everyone, they need to put everything they have in one single asset.
No way.
Tell everyone you got to be somewhat diversified. I'm very diversified. I'm in a lot of things, it makes me sleep at night easier being into a lot of things. So I don't know. I think people need to be spread out. And I know people are going, oh, well, Greg is telling anyone they should be all in on XYZ. No, I never said that. Show me one video or a post where I said should be all in on one thing. I've never said it.
Yeah, I had a video last week where a guy got on me saying, well, you don't even understand. What would you do if something crashed and the internet goes out? I said, man, and like 2 minutes later in the video, if you were to listen, I said, Bitcoin is great, but you've got to own some precious metals, because if crap hits the fan, you need a way to interact still. You need a store of wealth that people can still use. And right now, Bitcoin's adoption's not there yet. You may be able to have people, in your economy who can do that. But the reality is a piece of silver is going to get you a whole lot further than Satoshi sitting in a great silver wallet, because people don't understand its value yet. But when they do, I think you're right. When we talk about the value of gold, especially in the value of silver, you understand that Bitcoin was at a market cap of almost 1.1 trillion, where silver's market cap was at 1.4. It was running right up to silver's market cap. So could we see Bitcoin break silver's all-time market cap and take the lead ahead, catching up to gold? Very likely, if Bitcoin hits its cycle, which I believe, understanding these cycles you talk about, brought me to silver. It brought me to something that was more stable money, because I know there was nothing stable about a stable coin, right? So for me, I needed something to put my Bitcoin value in when it was at 60, and silver was my choice. Silver is a tool for us as well. It's a very important part of my strategy, because when you say people need to invest in what they understand, I agree. I understand Bitcoin. I understand silver. I understand gold. When you ask, why don't you trade commodities against Satoshis, Patrick? I don't understand commodities very well. That's why I leave that stuff alone. I hedge my bet, though, with Bitcoin, because I know as long as I keep buying Bitcoin, if you zoom out in the history of Bitcoin, what makes it so different than every other asset class is the supply. We know it's definite. It's never going to change. It's always going to be 21 million. You can't play games with the numbers like you do with the silver supply. There's no way to do that with Bitcoin. And conversely, if you look at how much silver and how much gold you're able to buy, in the past, you could used to buy with 1 ounce of gold, hundreds of Bitcoin. Yeah. Now you need 8 ounces of gold to buy one Bitcoin. So my question is, like, where are we going here? If you look at my long-term game of stacking some silver and gold, I'd say Bitcoin is also my strategy. So my question to you is, as we end up here, I ask every single one of my friends, I ask all the people that are on my show, we're leading up to 2025. I give you 10 grand. You get one choice. You have to split it: gold, silver, or Bitcoin, with the caveat you're going to remove it at the end of 2025. Where do you put your $10,000?
Me personally, I mean, look, I hate to do that. I'll tell you why. Me personally, I wouldn't put it in gold. That's the truth. My favorite asset still remains physical silver. That's the truth. If I were the average guy or the average girl, and I am not, I would be putting probably my cash into physical silver, because it's more easy to understand for the average guy or the average girl. But someone, I don't think it would be a bad place to buy Bitcoin. I really don't. If that's the question, I think it would. I think, like, as we said this whole entire video, I think there's major opportunity here. Look, with opportunity is risk too. And again, with the volatility that you have in this space, there's no saying that you couldn't lose half of that in a year or 6 months, and then it rebounded 120, 500%. There's no way to tell that. But understanding what you said, that is a finite asset. Okay, we're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about a finite asset. And I believe its adoption is going to get much, much larger. Its market cap is going to, who knows knows where it could go from here? Again, going back to the market cap of Bitcoin. I used to tell people, because again, I like to put it on relative terms. I used to tell people that at one point, the market cap of Bitcoin was as big as, let's say, one Dow component at that point here. One component of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Yeah. And I believe, we're just talking about one. So, could it go to 5 times, to 10 times? Without any doubt, it absolutely could. But again, you got to deal with the volatility. You got to be able to understand the space here. I'm not telling anyone that they should take 10,000 and throw that in anything, even silver, without understanding why. You don't just act like a drone. Do your research, figure out why you're doing, know why you're doing something. Not just you're doing it because you think it's fun or whatever it might be. You're doing it because you understand why. If you don't understand why, then don't do nothing. But the last thing you want to be in my view, with that 10 grand is to stay in the dollar. Okay, you got to do something else with it, because the dollar is a dying asset, period. And whoever doesn't agree with that, well, I think they got to reevaluate their situation.
With that said, I'm going to give you a nickname of my own, if I may. We're going to call you the Robin Hood of Sat Street, and we'll call it a day for now, because I know that this is a game that we're going to keep our eye on. I know that you understand what's happening. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you. Like I said, we'll miss you at the Silver Symposium, but if you guys like more of this content, please like, share, subscribe, help us get the message out. And Greg, I want to leave you with any last words that you want to leave for our audience. How do you recommend our audience get a hold of you or watch your shows the best way? What do you recommend?
Well, you can just Google me and find me anywhere. But I'll leave people off with this. Love each other, care about each other, and be charitable. And we're going to get through whatever they want to throw at us, as long as we got each other's backs. That's all.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that.
All right, man.